Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Your Excellency, distinguished guests from UK and Slovenia, ladies and gentlemen, members of the British-Slovenian Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to another Tea with Reason, organized by the British-Slovenian Chamber of Commerce and with our partners, Triglav Telekom Slovenije, SRC, and NLB. And it's my great pleasure to have a co-host this morning with me, the president of the British-Slovenian Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Miha Žerko. Welcome on stage, Miha.
Good morning. Also welcome on my behalf, but as always, I will rather let Barbara speak.
And it's a great pleasure to have my favorite co-host again. Since we don't have our Christmas gala in London this year. But we do have some very special guests with us this morning, and especially in these COVID times when it's so special to have people traveling here to Slovenia from the UK. It is with great pleasure that I announce our two first guests this morning who flew in from the UK yesterday, Lord Aberdale and Lord German. Welcome on stage. And please take a seat, so we'll have a quick discussion.
A very ominous sound, isn't it?
So good morning and welcome. You arrived yesterday from the UK. Beautiful weather, snow. What are your first impressions of Slovenia? Lord German, you've been to Slovenia before. What are the similarities also between Slovenia and Wales? Because you both come from Wales, right?
I think the first thing is to say we thank you very much for the snow. When we see snow, we close everything down. The schools close, the roads close, and everything else. And of course, the Christmas lights. I mean, so my first impression driving into Ljubljana yesterday was magical. It was a magical place. Wales and Slovenia, of course, are very similar in size. We are 3 million people. You're 2 million, but geographically, in terms of the amount of space you occupy on the world stages, roughly the same. We have mountains and a lot of sea around us, obviously. And we were formerly an industrial nation based around coal, iron and steel. And we're trying to transform that as well. And I know that has happened here, creative genius is at work. And finally, I think both of us are musical nations. You've got enormous musical talent in this country. And we all like to sing.
Thank you, Lord German. And Lord Aberdare, what about your experiences with Slovenia and your impressions?
Well, my experiences have been very limited because this is my first visit. I'm delighted to be here. I'm rather glad to be here because there was a moment yesterday when I thought I might be spending the night in Warsaw if I missed my connection. The other thing I've noticed, is this me or is this...
It's technology.
always complain about Welsh, because it doesn't seem to have any vowels. Has just consonants. And Slovenian has even
Because you have to buy a vowel. Consonants are free.
well, that's a good idea. We might some snow, and of course we're both small countries trying to find our way in a very big and complex world. So I think that's another thing that we share. And we shall do it singing together, perhaps, to preserve our musical heritage.
I think we say about Wales that we're small but beautifully formed. And I think you could say the same about Slovenia.
Yeah.
Small but beautifully formed, but everything within it is beautiful as well. So, there are great similarities, and I think we're going to build upon that relationship.
That's great. So on that note, and since you've already mentioned Welsh, I have tried and will please excuse me if my fails to say welcome you in Welsh. Bore da, croeso I Slovenia. Sut ydych chi?
Iawn, diolch.
Thank you, thank you. Just for the rest of you, I think what I have said is, good morning,
How are you?
welcome to Slovenia, how are you?
Correct.
Yes, okay, great. So, both of you gentlemen sit in the House of Lords. In Slovenia, we don't have, our parliamentary system is quite different from yours. So, the British monarchy was always the main pillar of promoting the UK around the world. Can you please explain to us what is your role in, let's say, traveling around Europe, promoting good relations between the countries? What do you need to do as a lord?
Shall I start on that? The House of Lords is the second chamber of Parliament, but its role is really subsidiary to the elected chamber, the House of Commons. And our role is to review and scrutinise and improve the legislation that is being proposed by the House of Commons. And we have more time to do that, and we also have a much more diverse membership to do that, because the House of Lords is rather large, it's too large, but among its members there are about 200 independent members who represent no party, but represent different walks of life, different backgrounds, and different experience. And they are a very important part. So our role is much more looking at what government is doing and planning to do, improving laws, challenging government when we think that there are things that they're doing wrong or could be improved, and in that way supporting the political process. Much more than, although it's wonderful to be able also to undertake visits like this and to develop relationships outside the UK, that's a sort of secondary activity.
I think it's not working. I think we should take our masks off.
Oh, yes.
We cannot hear each other.
Yes,
and, it's
that would be much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara.
I think the thing about the House of Lords is that it has more time because we don't have the representational role of looking after our constituents. So we tend to do things in greater detail. So we do exactly the same things as they do in the House of Commons. Every law has to go through both houses and has to be exactly the same when we have to agree together. But we will take it apart so that as a legislature we'll take the laws apart. But also, I think we have a big role in developing new ideas, new policy, largely through taking evidence and getting people in as witnesses to tell us what they think about particular difficult issues. I know that your National Assembly here has been talking about long-term care for the elderly, which is a problem in every country. And it's one that we are dealing with at the moment, and we've been doing it for many years, but we're having a real focus on it now as the population becomes older, so you have to find ways of making sure that they have the appropriate amount of care, social care, as opposed to hospital care. So we will take that as a policy issue and examine it in some depth. In terms of looking outward, clearly, we've had 1,000 years of being a parliament. We've sat together over that period, and we've developed a whole set of way of doing things, but we don't always get things right. And we've always got to learn, we've always got to change. So looking to other democracies, we share experiences together. We'll all learn more about each other, and we'll learn much better about extending the way we treat our world and the way that we can make our world better as well. So there's a big role here for learning from new democracies as well as them, people learning from what we've done. And we've made lots of mistakes, but you know, we still need to make change.
And more mistakes.
Yeah.
So you're here on an excursion, not on a trip. So you're also here to learn and to pass
Yes.
on the experience. If we translate this to the business world, since we are a business chamber,
Yeah.
the House of Lords is kind of like a supervisory board to the executive management board of a company,
Yeah.
in a manner of speaking. Okay. Barbara?
Question for you, Lord German. Everybody's talking about climate change. If we look at the UK, Glasgow just hosted the biggest climate change conference. You're going to Hrastnik tomorrow, I found out. Are there any similarities between Wales and this valley that you're going to tomorrow? And is there anything that Slovenians can learn also from Wales? Because you also had this transition from coal to other industries. And you know, everybody's talking about green transition. What can we learn from Wales, from the UK?
There is an enormous similarity because 2/3 of the population of Wales live in that southeastern quarter where coal, steel and iron were the three traditional parts of the Industrial Revolution, and they were dominant in our economy, absolutely dominant, where people would be, nearly everyone was employed either directly or indirectly by one of those three major products. And we now have no coal. There is no coal mines open at all in the country, and clearly the transitioning from coal was difficult because people's jobs depended upon it, because we needed it in order to generate enough energy. And that transition was something that we took on board. We knew it was going to happen, and it happened very quickly when the mines were closed. We had to find other jobs for people. We looked, first of all, for inward investment from multinational companies to come and open factories and inside Wales. Largely, they mainly disappeared. But it enabled us to give us the breathing space to transition from an economy where people's skills in the community were all very much based upon the old industries towards an economy where people would have new skills. And now for us the challenge is being able to retain the talent that is in our people in those communities rather than more migrating away to places where the bright lights would have better and better paid jobs. So that, I think, the challenge for communities like the one we're going to see tomorrow. And I'm hoping that we can come to an arrangement where we can build a relationship between two communities. And I've got one in mind where we might be able to do that to help people transition out of coal, in your case, into something which is, I think, you look at this country, I mean, creativity is oozing out of the people here. The skills in talent in doing things from scratch, new ideas. Yesterday we visited a new art gallery, and which is built out of an old factory. The challenges of just a creative mind are what makes industry move forward, what makes business move forward. So I think you've got a lot you can build upon in this country.
Thank you so much for that compliment. And now, Micha, should we move to the things we Googled on our distinguished guests and on Wales?
Well, yes, and as the coal miners, they used to sing, right, while they were working to help maybe to keep the rhythm going. And as I understand, both of you gentlemen are singers. And you sing in a, is that correct, Cor Melbion?
No,
That is not correct. I'm sorry.
We both sing in the Parliament choir.
Okay.
Our Parliament has a choir. We had our Christmas concert on Wednesday, close to the Parliament in London. And one of the highlights was we had a local group from Slovenia who sang 4 Slovenian carols as part of the concert, which was
And
wonderful.
just to put the advert in, you will be able to listen to our concert. It's broadcast next Wednesday. Oh, is it next Wednesday? No, Wednesday week, the Wednesday before Christmas, 22nd, I think. 22nd of December on a radio station called Classic FM. Classic FM is broadcast online, so you'll be able to receive it, and available for about 7 days afterwards. So you can enjoy us, if you like, on the radio next week.
And we'll be able to put the faces behind the voices.
Yes, behind the radio, yes.
They look better on the radio.
So, as Barbara has mentioned, we've Googled a few things about Wales because Slovenians we don't really know a lot about Wales, although we do know more than we think we know. For example, probably Slovenians don't know that Tom Jones comes from Wales.
Yeah.
So does Shirley Bassey. So my question is, do you sometimes sing their songs as well?
Well, one of the names you didn't mention was a wonderful male singer, Bryn Tervel, who is a great classical singer. So I would love to sing some of his songs, but I don't think I would be capable of doing it justice.
Where you do hear, our national sport is rugby.
Yes.
And in our national stadium in Cardiff, which seats, I think, 78,000 people, and it has a roof, by the way, which is very good. So if it rains, they can close the roof. But we are known for our singing at these rugby matches, and they do sing Tom Jones songs.
They do indeed.
But
yes.
what we are doing, because it's the Queen of England is her platinum jubilee next year. She'll have been the monarch for 60 years.
70, surely.
70 years, 70
yes.
years. We are going to be singing in a festival of which we are sort of focal part of it. And we are going to be singing the Harry Potter suite, which is for orchestra and choir, as part of that. So we are, and
That's
just
magical.
so you know, Harry Potter, the person who wrote Harry Potter, was brought up in Wales.
As well.
I
Wow,
didn't-
interesting.
I didn't know
So
that.
let me run a few facts by you and see if you know them. Do you know that Jack Daniel's whiskeys came from Wales?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you know
Pass.
that. Mount Everest is named after Sir George Everest. Controversial,
Sir
I see.
George Everest
Get the history.
lived at a town called Crickhowell. He was a very unpleasant and grumpy and difficult man. And the one thing that made him most angry was when his name was mispronounced. And his name was pronounced Sir George Everest.
Everest. Oh.
Yes, and so the poor man has gone down in history for the wrong pronunciation of his name, which was the one thing he
Which
didn't
sits
like.
on top of the world.
Which is the top of the world, yes.
So it's Mount Everest then.
Well, he was
He
Sir
would have
George
pronounced it
Everest,
that
and
way.
he would have been very angry if he knew that we all called
I
it
will call it
Everest.
Mount Everest from now on.
Well done.
Okay.
It's like Omicron, you know.
Yes, exactly. And then you might be aware of the fact that Wales has more castles per square kilometer than any other country in the world. So do you all live in castles? Or? And then
It's safe to say we both live near castles.
In this castle, near one, yeah. In the constituency that I represented in the National Parliament of Wales, we had, I think, 14 castles. And many of them are open to the public. And one of the big things we did when I was in government there, we made the entry free for people to be able to go and see them. I don't think it still is free, but it was at the time. But we have plenty of castles, lots of. But you've got castles here as well.
yes.
And of course, the great majority of our castles were built by the English
To keep the
try and
Welsh
keep the Welsh under
Out
their
the way,
thumb.
yes.
Okay, so one thing that also struck me while I was researching Wales was one of the most famous Welsh proverbs, which reminded me of the 19th century when Slovenians were fighting for their own language. And the proverb goes, "A nation without a language is a nation without a heart." I think that's quite beautiful. How do you feel or live this proverb?
Well, one of the things that I've been very struck by the language here, and what I'm very impressed by is how nearly everybody I've met in Slovenia speaks wonderful English.
Like the Welsh?
The Welsh all speak wonderful English, but a lot of them don't speak such wonderful Welsh, whereas I think most Slovenians do speak Slovenian. I think the number of Welsh speakers of native Welsh speakers has declined, but is having something of a revival because since we had our own parliament and had more consciousness as a nation, perhaps, and Welsh is now taught a lot in schools. I think there's been a bit of a revival.
Yes, well, we took a
Welsh
decision in the Welsh Parliament to grow the language because it was important. So it's taught in every school up to the age of 15. Everybody has to learn Welsh in some way or other, and you can be taught everything through the Welsh language as well. And it's now common in all public buildings and in all public documents to have things in two languages. Yep. And you're absolutely right that a language needn't be something which divides us, but it is something which enriches us together. And the language of Wales is part of our culture, which again makes us, I think, a more rounded and deeper personality. So I think it's very important that that's part of your heart, and your language is really helps you to make every other form of your art survive.
And Wales has a wonderful literary tradition, especially poetry. Fantastic poets from the 14th century. And one of the challenges of Welsh poetry, it's very close to song, and it has a lot of consonantal repetitions, a lot of rhythm and sound and rhyme and repetition of letters. So it's almost impossible to translate, and one is missing. And one of the reasons I started to learn Welsh was to be able to read Welsh poetry, because it doesn't work in English.
And this is a perfect moment to conclude, because I know you're busy and you have to go on with the Welsh word.
Yes,
really
let's test
Welsh
your
word.
Welsh language skills.
The longest name for a village or a town, and I think it's going to be shown now.
Yes. So this is it's behind you.
So can you help us? Can you help us read
can you
this
read
word?
this?
I don't
Lord
read.
Abb.
Llan var pwll gwyngydd goger y chwen drobwth llantisilio gogogoch.
And the
Is that it? There we are.
and what it means, because I had to look it up, is it means St. Mary's Church in the hollow of White Hazel, near a rapid whirlpool, and the Church of St. Cecilio near the Red Cave.
Quite descriptive.
Thank you very much, Lord German, Lord Aberdale, also Micha, for joining me here on stage. I know you have a busy schedule that
Sure.
you have to go.
So my final attempt
Go
at
ahead.
Welsh.
Oh, sorry.
No, just my final attempt at Welsh. Thank you, gentlemen. So diolch and
Diolch yn
pophui.
fawr.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you.
Poblwch. Another photograph.
Another one.
Another photograph.
Another photograph, and then,
And we don't walk out with the microphones either.
And we do take the book.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with our program. It's my honor to present the next speaker, who is the British Defense Attaché in Slovenia, Chris Day. We all know how much cybersecurity is of an important.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll do it without the mask. I ought to wait for the Lords to leave so that I can make a few jokes about Wales. No, I won't. It's interesting, though, because as you will all be aware, firstly, it's a real honour for me to be standing here. My lords, ladies, gentlemen, former ambassadors, it's genuinely, this is interesting stuff, it's important stuff, and I think you would rightly be wondering why a bloke from the British Army is standing in front of you. I'll be honest, I am not a cyber ninja, but I am in defence. Defence is part of security. This is all about protecting us, our families, our children, grandchildren, generations to come, in everything that we do. So I think that's why I'm standing in front of you. Not because I've got a nice, smart jumper. I think it's, truthfully, wearing a different jumper probably catches your eye. But this is everyone's business, absolutely everyone's business. I stand here as a British Army officer. As you will be aware, it is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Great Britain being England, Wales and Scotland. People from Wales love to poke fun at England. The feeling is mutual. Ditto with Scotland, etc. And that's me. So that's why I'm standing here. Security, I stand here, as the Defence Attaché working closely with the Ambassador, so Ministry of Defence working with the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. So those two organisations, Foreign Office, Defence, big players in security. Also a big player is the Home Office. So in your terminology, internal affairs. And then in the UK, we have this thing called GCHQ, the Spy Centre. We have a National Cyber Security Centre, etc. If you will bear with me, I've got a quick video. It is an army video, but you're all highly intelligent people. Whether you're running a football team, running a school, running a hospital, all the stuff in it is absolutely relevant to that. Whether it's us running our families on our own bank accounts, it's all relevant. So yes, it's an army thing. To be honest, the noise sounds like you're at the bottom of a swimming pool. It hasn't come across well in this high-tech environment. But we'll just play it, and then I've just got a few bullet points before we carry on, if that's okay. Right, so could you play the video, please?
Is clear. To offer electronic and cyber protection, to operate a hostile cyber and electromagnetic domain, to deepen our understanding, using enhanced electronic sensors and survey tools, and magnetic to the collection and exploitation of national intelligence, to develop electromagnetic and cyber effect capable of deceiving, denying, disrupting, and degrading the key capabilities of our adversaries, on land or in the cyber and electromagnetic domain. We seek to modernize and then transform. The secure Army digital enterprise and a talented digital workforce will protect us against hostile, invisible threats. By developing new skills and leveraging new technologies, we will build resilience and the agility to quickly adapt to new threats and to exploit opportunities. We seek to enhance foresight and reduce the cognitive burden of command. to make better and faster decisions. We will constrain the adversary's freedom of action by integrating cyber and electronic attacks with other physical and joint effects as the threat dictates, preserving our survivability and increasing the Army's wider utility. It is through a powerful combination of a collaborative approach with defence, our partners and our allies, and enablers and frameworks that we'll modernise and integrate with the Army's other major programmes and their visions, including Elitaxis and Land ISTAR. This will ensure that land cyber capability will be...
So it is a very Army video, I get that, but I think we'd all agree, whether you're running Manchester United, whether you're running a bank, you know, you need to cover off all of those things. I don't want to go into the detail of what the British Army is doing or British Ministry of Defence is doing, but we are, I suppose in the simplest terms, when I joined the Army 30 years ago, and when some of you did your national service or whatever, we talked about land, sea, air. That was it. Now, right or wrong, we talk about land, sea, air, space, outer space, and cyber. And we are resourcing it appropriately. So that's defence. Okay. So I've got a few facts and figures from the UK now. Forget the Army, but you know, onto life, if you like. I'd like to think the UK is a trusted partner for your cyber security requirements. In the UK, we have cyber security, which has been used to create a secure, open, and trusted digital economy. We're launching a fresh cyber strategy in a couple of days' time on the 15th, a national cyber strategy. Our National Cyber Security Centre is globally recognised as a leading cyber security government department and has ushered in a strategic approach of cooperation between government, industry and academia. The UK has cyber security exports to the tune of £4 billion. That was in 2019. With over 1,400 firms, there's been a growth of 75% since 2017. And we have the largest, most concentrated and most accessible cybersecurity market in Europe. 48% of UK cyber companies export their products or services. The British government has dedicated nearly £2 billion of extra investment into cybersecurity to help achieve the goal of the UK being the safest place to live and work online. I say that's the goal, that's not the current situation, that's the goal. We have 19 university academic centres dealing with cyber security research. We host the largest cyber trade exhibition in Europe, which is called Info Security Europe. We have strong commercial solutions in most categories of cyber security capability, and we have a good global reputation in areas such as strategic consulting and professional cyber services, cyber and professional standards accreditation, network security, systems integration, threat intelligence and monitoring, and encryption. On the film, you saw towards the end, various nations' flags. We are a leading player in the Five Eyes world. The Five Eyes, I'm sure, is familiar to all of you. But you also saw the French flag there, because our links with France, despite current politics and all of that, certainly our defence links with France are fantastic, and that remains so. So I think, really, that's me done. It is utterly pointless, you asking me questions about ones and noughts and digital. I'm very happy to take a couple of questions on what defence is doing, But I think that's not the purpose of today. The purpose of today is to link up the world, industry with each other. So without further ado, I think we're going to move on.
Use this microphone. Thank you very much, Chris. And I really like your point that if you're Manchester United, if you're the army, or if you're a large bank, you need cybersecurity. So thank you very much for that. And ladies and gentlemen, business also needs cybersecurity. Large corporations need cybersecurity. So we will discuss the importance of business, of cybersecurity in business in the next panel, which will be moderated again by my co-host and our president, Micha Žerko, who's also the CEO of SRC. Welcome on stage. And also we have colleagues from our partners today. Jelena Agafanova, the Director of Digitalization, Innovations and Business Process Management at Zavarovalnica Triglav. Welcome on stage. Borko Klisara, who's the General Manager of NLB Group IT Service Security Governance. And Metod Platiše, who's the Cybersecurity Specialist at Telekom Slovenia. The floor is yours.
Perhaps, will you be able to share microphones? Yes, okay. Okay. So in order for us to hear each other better, let's take our masks off. Well, first of all, dear guests, welcome. I'd like to say that, Jelena, we've had a few cybersecurity panels, and so far you're the first woman, so thank you for this breath of fresh air. We've discussed the topic before with our panelists, and we've came to a conclusion that it will be our goal today to scare you and scare the management of their respective companies and others in order to increase their investments in cybersecurity for next year. Is that correct? Okay.
Partially, yes.
Yes, okay. Let me start with a few stats first, just to see how big this challenge is. So, in terms of ransomware, they predict that by the end of 2031, the costs of tackling ransomware will reach $265 billion. I mean, that is pretty much 5 GDPs of Slovenia, annual GDPs. There's a cyber attack happening every 2 seconds. And again, things are becoming even more complex. In the first half of 2021, the number of cyber attacks has already surpassed the number of cyber attacks in the whole year of 2020. And then the average amount of reported ransomware transactions per month this year was $102 million, meaning that this is the amount that people are paying as ransom to the hackers. The victims, let's just talk about some of the more prominent or more famous cases that only happened this year. So the first one is Ireland's health services. So the hackers have locked down their computers, and they were unable to access patient records for a week. That was obviously life-threatening. If we go to sports, Houston Rockets, the NBA team, was hacked. They stole over 500 gigabytes worth of data. Their financial records, player contracts, fan personal information. Colonial Pipeline in North America, they interfered with supply of gas, so people had cold water, had no heat. And then two interesting ones, insurance companies. One was very interesting, CNA Insurance. This happened in March this year. So it's a US-based insurance company. They had a cyber attack that led to the termination of trading, but they've attacked the company. They've locked 15,000 of their devices, and they paid $40 million ransom to the hackers just for them to unlock them. Another interesting one is AXA Insurance Group. The ironic part here is that they have been attacked a day after the company published vital changes to its cyber insurance policy to stop coverage for ransom payments. So let's just start off with, so you represent a bank, an insurance company, and a telecom. Basically, all of them are critical to our well-being, our daily life. What were cybersecurity events that you have experienced in your companies this year? And Method, since you have the microphone, you can start.
Okay, thank you, Micha, and welcome to all the participants today here live and all the online that is attending today. So yeah, I think that it's not easy to disclose, so we could not disclose every details. We know.
Obviously, none of you will tell me what actually happened. Yes.
Yes. Okay, but I'll try to be honest. So we were exposed to many attempts for the breach, and when I'm talking, I'm always have two views: the view of our internal operation, our company, and also of our customers, because we are providing the security services, managed security services to our customers as well. So if I'm speaking for the Telecom Slovenia, we had quite a lot of attempts, but none of them resulted in a breach, in a serious incident. We had quite some DDoS attacks that are happening all the time, in fact, but 2 years ago, there was quite a strong campaign to us and also to some other organizations in Slovenia, but we managed to defend almost all of them. Yes, there are all sorts of events that we are experiencing all the time, and these events, as you said, Micha, are increasing rapidly, and we have to develop measures all the time and be vigilant to all kind of threats. If I'm speaking about the customers, so we had quite some cases when the companies had a ransomware attack, so they all the data were encrypted with them, and we helped them to resolve the data and the business again. And the director fraud is quite common in Slovenia, although there is not a lot of talk about that, but there's quite a lot of damage that is caused by that. And also other type of data stealing or extortion or something like that. So many
it's
things
fun.
are
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes. Jelena, so can you obviously please answer the same question, but then also maybe touch upon is Triglav also thinking or actually has developed a product to help us protect against these attacks?
Of course. Generally, I would just say the same as my colleague just did. Attacks are happening all the time, and we have to monitor closely what's going on, but thanks God, not AXA case. we managed to do well, and we didn't have any major incidents. Regarding the cybersecurity product, of course, we have an insurance product, which I guess gaining in popularity quite highly, again, due to the increase on ransomware cases, which we hear here and there, even in Slovenia. So sadly, it's more learning on the bad experience, and then people kind of get aware that there is a need for such an insurance product. But yeah, as a statistic-based and probability-based business, we see it as a moderate to high and incredibly rapidly developing segment.
And are you happy with the awareness? So is this a product that sells itself, or is it more difficult?
The product was developed, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago, and then it was more of a push. Slowly, it's going into like pull, but still, it's not as good as it could be.
As it never is. Okay, Borko, you come from one of the largest banks. Obviously, you can't disclose anything, but still, try and or at least tell us what's keeping you up at night.
Yeah, well, definitely I will give my best. But as you said in the beginning, you said it nicely, we are all interconnected here. Our company is the three of us. And in this case, since we are the bank, we are not offering the services to others for the protection from cybersecurity, but in this case, we are let's say the customers for the insurance companies and for the telecoms. I would like to say that it's very important to keep the good cooperation with the companies which are helping you to deal with this. And from our point of view, well, as you said, the attacks are happening. There is always the tries and there is always some unwanted traffic and attack tries via different vector attacks. But luckily, I can say as well as the colleagues this year, we had no successful breaches which would cause the negative impact to the company or to our customers. And we are giving our best to keep it this way. So the attacks are happening. It is all the time. It's not something that we see on the TV and in some, I don't know, some movies like 10 years ago. It's a daily business for us. And the things that keep us awake at night are actually the cyber attacks everywhere via different vectors. When the COVID pandemic started, there was a huge increase in phishing emails, for example, where the attackers tried to, gain some, valuable information from the people or even some financial gain in the end. But we, as the largest bank here, as you said, we are always, of course, subject to different types of attacks, but successfully we are dealing so far, and we are always cooperating with our partner companies, and as you said, it's an important thing, and we really need to cooperate on this one to be able to tackle this, actually.
As you mentioned, so with COVID, a lot of, regardless of which company now I'm talking about, but everyone started working from home, right? And so did your teams. So that means that, when they're at work, you can protect their machines, their devices, by your firewalls, by your systems. But then all of a sudden, 50 or maybe 70% of your workforce started working from home. They logged into, open public Wi-Fi's. And how did you even manage that? How scary was that? Did you increase the size of the team that was handling this?
Yeah, well, actually, when pandemic escalated and when the things went south with this one, it was a challenge for all of us how to keep the business running, how to keep the colleagues safe at the homes, and at the same time, how to give them the ability to work their, working duties from home, but in a secure manner. So, of course, as you said, when things escalated, NLB infrastructure was kind of prepared, but up to a certain point. But as you said, when there was a necessary to put 50 or 70% of people to work from home, we had to let's say, scale again the things we had. We had to improve the systems, to put it on a bigger scale. But the teams that were engaged did a fantastic job, and in a real quick time, the colleagues managed to send home most of the employees from the bank headquarters and from the bank premises to work from home in a secure manner. And as you already know, there are the products which you use for this purpose. So, as I said, there was this infrastructure. It was prepared, but not for this large scale which happened when the COVID escalated. So we had to improve, and we had to, let's say, implement some additional new systems and to increase certain capacities for things.
And just a follow-up question. If I'm not asking too much, how big is your cybersecurity team, or people who are actively engaged in?
Okay. In this year, NLB as a group went through a series of transformations, and since the the cybersecurity was always one of the key topics here, but now we kind of strengthened our teams. We have a team in Ljubljana, and we have an entirely new team in Belgrade. Also, we have the teams in other local banks as a part of our groups, and in other companies which are part of our groups. So now we have, at the moment, 20 people doing only with cybersecurity, and we also have big teams for the IT infrastructure, IT architecture, IT development, data management, and so on, and we are somehow all cooperating. And I have to say that NLB Group has 5,000 plus IT employees in the areas where we do business. I don't think that there is any tech company with such a big power force in IT.
I agree, yeah. Jelena, can you compare Triglav to NLB in terms of size, in terms of your even your actions after you started working from home? Your approach?
I would agree with the colleague that we were quite ready, and the infrastructure let us work from home as basically our work agents, sales agents that are used not to be in the office premises, so they were kind of okay. We had to deal with the back office operations, of course, because these people were working in the offices, and gladly and luckily we managed to do it quite quickly. Of course, we needed to do some adaptation. We introduced some new systems in order to offer them smooth operations. I would say that 95% of all were really smoothly and very fast moved to work from home operations. What we did, of course, we monitored closely different technologies, how to, like, let's say, Zoom, Teams. We were really doing tests, which one is better, and then also regarding to the test result, like we choose Microsoft platform over Zoom because it was not as secure. And basically the team, I would not go into numbers because I really don't know per se how many people are working, but we do combination of internal and external, so we really work closely with different partners. We do have a security operations center, which is managed by outside partner, but yeah, we are trying also to increase our internal team of cyber experts, because this is definitely the topic that is hot and needed to be addressed.
Okay, and Metod, so maybe start off first of all as a telecom as a company, so and then your relation to the marketplace,
okay, yeah.
Your clients.
So when the COVID hits, we, as all the other organizations, we changed the work style and sent the people to work from home overnight, literally. So all the infrastructure was in place, so we are able to do that so quickly, because we work, we have the remote work from, I don't know, it's in our way of doing, at least most of employees, or a lot of employees in the telecom, but still many employees went to work from home for the first time, and we emphasized a lot the education of the employees, how to I mean, what to take care of, and what should they do and what should they not to do. So that's quite an important thing, and we are doing this education every 3 months because it is really important. And I also need to say that the habits changed quite a lot. So before the COVID, we have the 3 main locations in Ljubljana. For every meeting, we traveled around this location, and it takes a lot of time, and obviously. And now, even if we are in the office, so we are meeting over the Teams. So this changed a lot, I think, in the positive way.
Good. And do you still have people who write their passwords and leave them glued or taped on the screen, or?
I hope not, because I think we not scared them, but through all these activities, I think that we were good in telling them that this is really bad. So, and also some policies with us prohibit that, and this could be quite a problem for them if doing that.
So we all agree that this is an area that will need even more of our attention in the future. There's a skill shortage in IT especially, and you're probably aware that you will need to increase your teams in the future, which will be sometimes harder, or so the other option would be to perhaps find outside partners. So what is your plan for the next 3 years? Where will you get the talent? Will you raise them? Will you, steal them from maybe these two companies or my company?
Yes. Do you have some?
No, I would really like to know the challenge of finding enough competent people, how big of a challenge that is for you. Telekom is mostly a Slovenian company. Triglav is regional, so you have, I think, a bigger pool of people to choose from, as is NLB. So maybe if you can just give us your insights.
Okay, should I start?
Sure.
Okay. So typically other companies are stealing specialists from Telekom Slovenia. So, because we are state-owned company and we have
just
some...
full disclosure, Telekom stole method from us a few years ago.
Yeah. Yes, after 20
so now
years.
You know how it feels.
After 20 years, so you must admit that I was quite along with it. And it's a very good company. I must say thank you to SRC.
It's okay, method, go on.
Yeah, okay. Yes, so when we started the Security Operations Center in 2018, we bring the people mainly from other departments in telecom, because there are engineers that have some skills, knowledge, and also the security operations analysts. They are quite a special people, I would say, so hackers somehow and so on. And we are pulling this and bringing it into the room and saying them, okay, now you have all the technologies here. If you need something, say to us, and let's go starting analyzing all the events that we are collecting from elsewhere. Okay, but yeah, then we need to develop this program, and we also engaged people from outside. But mainly, we are trying to develop people inside the organization. But it's also very important the cooperation and collaboration with other SOC operations, with other CERTs and CCERT teams around in Slovenia and also outside. So we are part of the Trusted Introducer community of CERT teams. And I would say honestly that there is not a problem if people go out to somewhere else, but we have to balance the out and in flux of the people. Because if people go somewhere else, they teach a lot, they get the new experience, new knowledge, and if they maybe come again back, then we get very experienced people then. And I would encourage this. These changes so that the specialists would go around and gather the experience from different positions, different organizations, and so on.
So in a way, you're saying that people who work in cybersecurity, that this is actually not something that should worry, that your competition should worry about, but you should actually open yourself even to competitors, because we can only, by working together, increase our common security.
Yes, I mean, in reality, we would like to close these people about with the walls and not letting them to look outside. But that is my honest opinion.
I don't think that's legal, but
yeah,
we can try.
Okay. Well, but it is my honest opinion that I'm talking to others. When we are talking in the Chamber of Commerce of Slovenia, so where other similar companies we are discussing about. So one of the major topic is the cyber talents. So how to bring
Create
more
more
cyber talents? Yes.
Attract more. Jelena, how is Triglav doing this?
Well, we choose very mixed approach because we really want to acquire some fresh new talents and raise them. But on the other hand, we do recognize that only partners with a cumulative knowledge from different industries, from different sectors, could provide us more secure way of helping us and supporting us. So basically we are developing both. We are also with telecom we're working, as well as we're increasing our team. Where to get the talents, that's the tricky one. We are regional companies, so maybe we have a little bit of options to choose from, but nevertheless, it's a challenge. IT stuff, it's very challenging to get a good one, and even when you get it, it's a challenge to keep it. So I do agree that sharing and getting more experience is great, but also there need to be some balance. Yeah.
And wait. Does Triglav employ any ethical hackers?
I would say I don't think we have on staff, but we do some experiments when we invite somebody to hack us.
Yeah.
We
so
had some
you hire them
practices.
to, but then my question would be, does NLB employ any ethical hackers?
Yeah, actually, yes. We have our offensive
So my question is,
security
how do you know
experts.
they're ethical and how did you find them?
Yeah, well, we choose wisely, so. Yeah, well, as the colleagues already said, this is quite a challenge where to find the people, because what Method says, the balance is really important, what comes out and what comes in. But unfortunately now at the moment there is a lot of people from the entire region who left this region, and we face the lack of the human resources, especially in this, as Method said, I will quote him again, very special people. But our management board actually recognized the issue, and one of the ways how we face this is that we have this new group competence center for IT, which is in Belgrade. The market in Belgrade is a bit bigger. There are issues in Belgrade as well, but it's a bit bigger than here. So we are hunting the talents across the entire region where we are present. And as the colleague said, we also use the mixed approach by cooperating with our partners, and for some services, if we are not able to do it by ourselves in a proper way, of course we will find external help and so on. But this is actually probably the biggest challenge which we will face in the few years. And I believe that the cooperation with universities will also become, let's say, I mean, it already is, because our company is giving the scholarships to the students so that, we can show them what are we doing, we can make them interested to work with us later once they finish and once they graduate. So that's also one of the things, maybe how to attract and how to keep the talent in Slovenia and in the region.
If you would like to give one piece of advice to our audience, to your employees, what would you like them to do to make your job easier? You agree that still the human factor is one of the biggest risk factors in terms of cybersecurity.
Yeah. Actually, I will quote one of my favorite things, which is related to one of the buzzwords nowadays, which is zero trust. So never trust, always verify. If you're not sure, please call us. We'll check it twice. So, but here, really, user awareness is of the utmost importance, because no matter what kind of technology you have, what kind of systems you implement, if you don't educate your own colleagues, your people you work with, if they don't know enough about the topic, there is no technology in the world which will save the things when the attacks happen. So. As I said, never trust, always verify. If you're not sure, call us, please.
You
That would be my message.
You sound like an accountant. That's good, but
yeah,
it's okay.
Maybe a bit, but I'm a guy who likes to check things 3 times. So.
Well, then you're in the right job. Jelena, how about what should we do, or what should people do, in order for Triglav to have zero claims on their cybersecurity policies?
Don't trust anyone. Don't use internet. No, but I think, of course, the level of awareness shall be increased, and I think it's increasing, because with the COVID situation, all of us went to work from home, and obviously the attacks increased, and the awareness about it also increasing within the company. Our, let's say, security engineers, they also educate us by pushing some, let's say, phishing emails from the company just to check how the people react. So that's educational perspective. But of course, the human factor is the biggest risk here, which we cannot control, sadly. So yeah, zero trust or assumed to be
And
hacked.
this is coming
all
from
the
an
time.
insurance company, and you did the numbers, right?
Yeah, we did the numbers, but that's probabilities, statistics. But I guess here the common sense, I wouldn't say just don't trust, double check and go with it.
You seem to be very much in sync. Method, your chance to be different or the same?
I would say I would propose that besides all the architectures, all the frameworks that use the common sense and do what makes sense, I would say, and not overreact if it's not needed, and but take care of all the key events, all the key elements of this overall security, not only the cyber, because the cyber is also one part that is related to other security issues. So we are talking now about the cyber physical security as well in many organizations, especially from the sector of critical infrastructure, because there are some interrelations between them. And what's the question?
What is your advice? One thing that people should follow so that you will sleep better at night?
I think that I already responded to that. So be reasonable. Make the things that you will see that you will drive you to the goal. We are many times talking with the many companies that, or also we are selling all kinds of products and services. But yes, we would like to sell them, but we also would like, when we're talking with the customer, to find the way that it will be really efficient. If the company needs the technology, we will provide a piece of technology. But I think that the service and the knowledge that all the vendors could provide is the key here.
Okay, thank you. So if I sum up all of your three advices, is be paranoid, but reasonable. And don't trust anyone. Is that
zero trust?
Okay. Well, dear lady, dear gentlemen, thank you very much for your interesting insights. I wish you all the best. Zero security incidents, if possible. And with this, Barbara, please come on stage and take it away.
Thank you also from my side, ladies and gentlemen, for this very interesting discussion. I think they deserve a round of applause. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with two presentations of two British companies who unfortunately could not make the journey to Slovenia due to current travel restrictions and COVID restrictions. So we made a recording of their presentations, and let me please announce Tesca Labs, Ms. Kristina Osipova, and Skyer Cyber, Mr. Tim Harwood.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Kristina, and I'm the sales and partner representative at Tesca Labs. And today, I would like to introduce you the Tesca Labs and our activities and the expertise in the cybersecurity area. So Tesca Labs actually is a Czech-British company, and we are developing our own software products for the cybersecurity protection of mobile applications, IoT devices, and any kind of connected devices, and also the software products for the real-time data analysis in order, for example, to detect misbehavior detection or any kind of cybersecurity attacks, for example. Today, I will be speaking mostly about a very specific, let's say, topic. It's about our activities in the cooperative intelligent transport systems, so-called CITS. And actually, we are delivering the cybersecurity product also for this very specific area. So, and why it is important nowadays is because a few years ago, actually, the European Union started the so-called Sea Roads project. There are nowadays around 17 states that are attending this kind of project. And actually, the goal of this project is to create the standards, the cybersecurity standards for communicating of the cars, car-to-car communication or car-to-infrastructure communication. So for the future, all the cars actually will have some onboard units, or the infrastructure will have the roadside units in order to communicate to each other and actually to deliver messages. So here you can see some of our partners and customers, our projects. We can actually divide these projects into two parts. The first area is the area of the so-called test beds. Actually, here you can see the Horiba Myra or Idiada, the Zenzik in UK, or also the Costain. Actually, nowadays, these companies, they are creating the testing environments, the test beds for any kind of OEMs, the car manufacturers, or any of the companies that are actually manufacture hardware devices for to implement into the car, and they want to create for them the testing environment actually in order to test the cybersecurity issues with these communicating devices. And as I mentioned, here you can see, for example, Connected Motorcycle Consortium, Costain, Idiada, Zenzik, and so on. Different type of the project is the project with the national government. In terms of this Sea Roads project, we actually are communicating with different type of the ministries and local governments. Here you can see, for example, the reference deployment in Czech Republic. We are the part of the Sea Roads project in Czech Republic from the very beginning. And actually here you can see some Ministry of Transportation or Skoda or O2, who is the biggest telecommunication provider in Czech Republic and who is actually delivering the backend for the Sea Roads project. And Tesco Labs, as a part of this group, we are delivering the central cybersecurity component for the car-to-car and car-to-infrastructure communication. This actually type of products, they are called public key infrastructure, the PKI, and actually our PKI is nowadays delivered through the Sea Roads project in Czech Republic. We started with a pilot, let's say, in testing environment, and today, just a few months ago, actually we rolled out this pilot project into fully productional PKI, the public key infrastructure. And nowadays, actually, we can say that we operate the central component for the cybersecurity protection for the Czech government or the Ministry of Transportation in Czech Republic. Also, we can see here the Slovenian Sea Roads. Slovenia is also a part of this big European project, and we are also already in communication with the DRS. And what we do is we are delivering the PKI as a service for the DARS, for the people in DARS, in order actually to help to adopt the cybersecurity and in order, to make any kind of testings that are needed for these kind of deployments. This cooperation, I think, lasts around 2 years at the moment, and Slovenia is still in the pilot projects, and I'm sure that there are some plans actually to roll out this also to the fully productional PKI. So also you can see here the third reference deployment. It's let's say the same the same type of the project, but for the Norwegian Public Roads Administration. And again, we deliver the pilot project and the PKI as a service for the Norwegian government and Norwegian Ministry of Transportation. So based on, let's say, this information, we also actually, our new customer, or let's say partner here, is the Sea Roads in Greece, which a few months ago we also added them to our partner list. And based on this information, we can say that today we are one of the largest CITS PKI operator in Europe by the number of the PKI installations, including also the UK. So, and actually why we're so successful in this area, let's say it's very simple. We have a very strong expertise in this area. As I mentioned, we are the part of the Sea Roads project from the very beginning. From, let's say, the first starting date of this project, and actually until nowadays, our main cybersecurity expert, the Aleš Teska, who is the founder and CEO of Teska Labs, he is the member of the European Commission group, the subgroup on the CITS security in the intelligent transport systems. And what it means that we are actually from the very beginning developing the cybersecurity standards, the European standards, and actually delivering our expertise into the European Commission. So here you can see actually some standards that are nowadays in place in terms of the cooperative intelligence transport systems, and we would say that they're almost ready. The only thing we are waiting, or like say the Europe is waiting, is some delegated act from the European Commission, which will authorize these standards, and actually each OEM or any, let's say, hardware manufacturer and also the local government will need to comply with these cybersecurity standards for the car-to-car and car-to-infrastructure communication. And also very important to mention that, of course, as we develop our own software products in this area, so we develop these products that are compliant with these standards, and we actually guarantee to our customers and partners that once it will change, so we of course will update our software solutions. The third thing, also very important, is our attendance on the so-called ETSI plug test. ETSI is the European Telecommunication Standard Institute. They're also actually doing their job into creation the standards for the cooperative intelligent transport systems, and they organize a so-called plug test where each company which is active in the area of cooperative intelligent transport systems, for example, they manufacture the hardware devices for the cars or hardware devices for the infrastructure or any kind of software, they can come to this plug test and actually check the compliance of their product within US standards. And we actually attended all these events which took place. For example, here you can see there were 3 plug tests. 2 of them were offline in Spain and in France, and the third was online due to the COVID situation. So, and of course, we help our partners, for example, also to go through this plug test and actually receive their certification that they're compliant with the standards. Here you can see just a very short and basic overview what actually means the cybersecurity for the connected and for the connected transport systems, for the connected cars. I would like to just mention one important thing, what it, for example, means for the local government in order to be compliant for the future with these standards. So here you can see the route CA. It's, let's say, the main part of the PKI, the route certification authority, including the EA, it's the enrollment authority, and AA, which is the authorization authority. And actually, this part of this, the PKI PKI is or should be operated by the national government, and this part we are actually providing to all of our customers I mentioned, as the Czech Republic, Norwegian Public Road Administration, Greece, and also the Slovenia, the DARS. On the top you can see the TLM, the Trust List Manager, and up to the, let's say, architecture of this PKI in Europe. This TLM, Trust List Manager, should be operated by the European Commission and the European Union, so that each country is unified, and they actually have one let's say root of trust in Europe. So for us as a basic users, or the basic, let's say, users of the cars, it means that once it will be in place, so when we go to any country in Europe, so our car should communicate with the infrastructure there. So, for example, I live in Czech Republic, so I go to the Germany, and I will be sure that my car will receive the messages, for example, about the road constructors or any kind of these messages. And if I go to any other country, so I will receive the same messages. So, and to, let's say, summarize the introduction, I would like to mention that based on the presentation, so we deliver and developed our own software products for the cybersecurity. It could be the cybersecurity for the connected cars, or any kind of transport system, intelligent transport systems that are compliant with the US standards. We have highly professional experts in our team. We deliver, let's say, this project with these experts. As I mentioned, technical standards and legislation compliance is key for us. And our mission actually is to help companies and countries to adopt this very specific area of the cybersecurity in the cooperative intelligent transport systems. I would like also to share some contacts. Martin also has to contact to us, but in case you are interested in more details and you would like to discuss any type of partnership, cooperation, and so on, please just feel free to get back to us. And thank you for your attention.
Hi everybody, my name's Tim Harwood. I am the CEO of Cyca Limited, and it's my pleasure to give you a short introduction to what we do over here in the UK and elsewhere in the world around operational technology, OT cybersecurity, rather than IT cybersecurity from the information technology side. There are clearly some emerging risks in the cyber aspect of OT, or industrial control systems. We have a great deal of cyber skills poverty, so we have a shortage or a lack of recognition about what cyber skills are needed in the engineering world, as well as a lack of understanding about the threats and the vulnerabilities as they're beginning to emerge in the industrial world. Part of that is down to legacy systems being very, very old, and a lot of people not really understanding some of the older systems, such as Windows NT4, Windows 3.1.1. I was working on a site in 2019 that still had DOS 6.2. So for some of you older people out there like me, some of the skills that we have are very much in demand. In addition, we have the inclusion of common off-the-shelf Windows equipment. So down at some of the lower levels of the industrial architectures for the networks, we now have emerging technologies such as VPNs, proxy servers, which sometimes the engineering communities don't necessarily understand fully, or the vendor or the communities that they work with don't necessarily explain the connectivity from remote sites that's required. So we have jump stations and jump servers coming into some of the levels of the architecture with a lack of understanding about what it means to control that access. So we have that technical complexity of the modern equipment trying to clash and come together in an efficient way without compromising safety of the plant and the environment and the people. In addition, now within the EU and other areas of the world, we have some very stringent cyber-focused regulations. So the NIS regulations that came in back in 2018 are very much about proving your current status of cybersecurity in your operational environments and being able to evidence that to a regulator to say that you are actually aware of what's going on and you do have the means to do something about it. Now, of course, one of those is about the culture. We have a very good safety culture in the operational world. And of course, in a lot of languages, safety and security is even the same word. But what does a good cyber culture look like? And how do people address those issues? How do people report cyber concerns, especially if it's not something that traditionally has been part of their environment? The old expression is that IT security is done by the IT security team. Now everybody has a part to play, and sometimes they're not really aware of what their role is in cyber and the securing of the networks that they use day in, day out. This, of course, will in turn protect the organization and secure the working environment to prevent the consequences. It's easy in the IT world to turn around and say, have you tried a reboot? But to try a reboot of an oil refinery or an offshore platform or a large maritime vessel or a civil nuclear power plant sometimes takes several days to do rather than a simple switch on, switch off. Now, does the businesses that we work with encourage it? Sometimes. We help them very much around understanding what does awareness mean, what about the staff and how they can input to policies and then drive system design. Some of that will only come out of the metrics, you know, making sure that from the management perspective, they pass that test of so what? And quite often we find people aren't necessarily reporting metrics, they're reporting a measurement. So we help them design the proper metrics, which is a judgment placed upon that measurement. A lot of the senior leadership need to understand the awareness and the training side of the house, making sure that they understand securing the business isn't necessarily the mission, but security is an integral part of the mission of the business. Without it, things will fail and it can cost you a lot of money. An example, of course, is some of the more recent stuff early this year in America, the Colonial Pipeline issue, the water treatment plant in Florida, where we've seen some large-scale intrusions into either the system or the supply chain, which has cost the company several $1 million. So where are we in terms of CYCA? Currently, we do consultancy for critical national infrastructure organizations, mainly around the oil and gas industry, the energy industries for civil nuclear and wind farms. We do a lot of work for the UK critical national infrastructure at government level, including the water treatment plants, the mass transportation for rail, and the London Underground system, which of course was designed in the Victorian days, going back to 150 years maybe. We've worked with the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna on the civil nuclear programs, and consequently now we are working on incident response playbooks for civil nuclear programs for a Gulf client. We now have some work going on in the fashion industry, in Germany, where we are working with a client to help them understand what does a risk assessment look like? What does it mean to get cybersecurity involved in the manufacturing industries? I am working as part of a program for FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency in America, where we are designing an incident response for industrial control as part of a massive program in America. With all of this that's going on, we still run regular training courses, and we also design bespoke organizational training around cyber and other areas of the business as well. We've worked with a Gulf region client to help design bespoke courses for their operational technology side across multiple levels of skill and knowledge in their National Cybersecurity Academy. To give you a case study of one of these clients, one of our clients went to the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre and said, under the NIS regulations, we need to do training. We need to understand about securing the people. So we went to the oil and gas client, we sat down with them and we said, what training do you need? And of course their answer was, we don't know. It just says that we need training and awareness. Bearing in mind, of course, that training and awareness are different things. Awareness is about understanding the profile of the organization and the risk profile, as well as understanding behavioral risk. What do you as a person need to do? Whereas the training is about teaching people new skills to implement in the way that they work. We worked with this client to help them understand, rather than just turn around and say, you need a training course, you need to do some awareness. We took a step back and we helped design a skills and competency framework for them. What we did was we worked at different levels of skill and skills that were required. This is an example around a knowledge level for control of work. And you can see there are 4 levels of skill: awareness, level 1, level 2, and level 3, which of course roughly aligns to probably sort of technician, engineer, senior engineer, or analyst, practitioner, and manager in the IT world. The main point of this was to get people understanding that we can then build a picture of who needs what to what level. So here's an example of a senior maintenance technician and an example of the skills that they needed and to what level. With this in mind, we could then design the skills and competency frameworks for people utilizing our ways that we can work with them to help satisfy from the training courses that we provide the different levels and help them to understand from a line management perspective that their people now are furnished with the right level of skill for the right role that they are working at. We have several courses, some of which you can see. These aren't all of the courses. These are the ones focusing on industrial control security. Some of which are focusing on the basic skills, you know, what does an IT person need to understand about industrial control before they can go and have those conversations so that they understand from the engineering perspective what's required. The new course that we've just recently launched coming into January's curriculum is the incident response, because it's very important that no matter what level of training people have, incidents don't wait for you to be trained. So what do you do if something was to happen today? So we are working on incident response so people can start to bring together the skills and the teams that are required for the cybersecurity incident response teams to make sure that the business can respond from an immediate start point to any sort of incident that comes in. And that includes identifying that it's actually going on in the first place. One of the other key areas that we do is open source intelligence gathering. So understanding from an open source exposure point, what are other companies saying about your own organization? What are your supply chain companies saying? What are your people sharing on social media? So that you can do, as a part of a service that we offer, open source exposure analysis. We do diagnostics, we can design frameworks, and we're currently working from an assurance perspective to help people do risk assessments and understand where are we now and where do we want to be. the last thing that we can help people with is design that journey around what does that journey look like. If I'm starting at a maturity level 2 and I want to be at maturity level 4, how do we as an organisation go from 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4? And what are the metrics that say you've achieved that? So that's a brief summary of what we do, including a short case study from the oil and gas industry. Thank you very much for your time, and I will quite happily now answer any questions.
Thank you very much to our presenters from the UK. As you see, there's a lot of expertise in cyber in the UK, so if you're interested, especially to those of you online who are watching us, do get in touch and we'll connect you. This comes to the end of our event, and this is the last event of this year. We do hope that next year will bring more live events and more interaction, and hopefully also delegations to the UK and also our Christmas Gala in London, which is a tradition. Nevertheless, I would like to thank everyone who's here for coming to this event. I would like to thank all of you who are watching us online for watching us. I would like to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the best in the new year, and let's keep our fingers crossed that COVID goes away and the life is back to normal again. So thank you, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.